Winery in Alexander Valley. I'm really happy to have my next guest on, Jeff Rehnquist from Rehnquist Wines in the famous Shenandoah Valley region. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us today, man. Appreciate you being here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
So, we met last night at dinner. That was really fun. And you're here now. You're kind of a big part of this event in a sort of a quiet way. But, I mean, you were part of the panel today, and I guess you're friends with Craig and Alan, and this has been something that you guys have all been interested in. As you said earlier, you got kind of pulled into this kicking and fighting. Tell us a little bit about that story.
Well, Alan and Craig, along with my wife Margie, have all enjoyed rosés a lot more than I have historically, and Alan and Craig wanting to promote rosé and kind of adopted it as an arena of the wine industry that I suppose they felt was underrepresented and wanted to do something about that. Started these events, these promotional opportunities for people to pour their rosés, and Margie and I felt very honored to help and to encourage them and to help support them in their efforts to bring rosé to the market and to expand people's perspectives on it and
Sure.
to explore the diversity that's available there. We produced our first rosé, Rosé of Sangiovese, from a grower that we've done business with for years, making red wine in Amador County. And it's worked out very well for us. I'm quite happy that we've done it. But you're right. Rosé, I came to rosé
The hard way.
The hard way, the long way.
Well, Jeff, I mean, so many folks out there that have been introduced to your wines over the years, especially a lot of us Sierra Foothill folks, which is where I'm from. We kind of know you and your reputation. Bring us back a little bit to, your real roots. You said earlier today that you started off making red wine because as a young winemaker with not a big budget, you didn't even have refrigeration. And so why make white wines that need to be chilled? And so you're really well known in the region for your reds. What are some of the reds that you really love and enjoy making and that have sort of put you on the map, so to speak, over the years?
Well, I think the three varietals that have done the most for us are Petite Sirah, Barbera, and Zinfandel. So we've tried a lot of things, and a lot of the wines we make are pretty much a roadmap of my history in the business. I made wine for other people for 16 years before starting my own brand.
Did I hear Paul Masson thrown in there earlier?
Paul Masson I worked for Seagram's that owned Paul Masson. That was my first job in 1977.
Nice.
Yeah. So we've had a chance to explore and go back to the growers I've had success with and have had relationships with and know and understand their grapes and have a feeling for what we're going to produce from them. And that's where the grapes are coming from. And so we produce varieties from all over the state, from Paso Robles to Napa to the northern interior to El Dorado County as well as Amador.
Right. And, I love bringing this out, too, Jeff, to our listeners because a lot of folks are under the false impression as you drive through these beautiful vineyard areas and you see a winery name out there that to be a winemaker you must be also a farmer and you must have these big large vineyards. And so that's so wrong because I mean you're able to, more like an artist that wants to choose particular colors of this and that, you can actually go and find the grape grower that grows the grape in the region that you want it to come from, right? I mean you have a little bit more latitude.
A lot more flexibility.
Yeah.
It's a business model that works very well. As a youngster and drinking wines with my father, I had a lot of respect for Paul Draper at Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
And the extent to which he would go all over the state of California, searching out different flavors, different characters, different opportunities.
This was your dad?
Primarily was Zinfandel. My father was a big fan of Paul Draper's at Ridge.
How
he was a
cool.
member of the ATP, the Advanced Tasting Panel. And so he got a nice array of Ridge wines prior to release all the time, and we'd share them and talk about them, And that was back in the days when Paul still made a Shenandoah Valley Zinfandel as well as a Fiddletown Zinfandel from Amador County.
Wow. So you've been up there for a while. I understood, we were talking last night, you did the UC Davis, you were in that in the 80s, early 80s. And
I graduated in 1980. Prior to graduating, I worked as an intern for Kerry Gott. Joel Gott.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And Kerry started the Montevina Winery.
Right.
That's now Tierra del Oro and is operated by Sutter Home. So that was my introduction to Amador County. It was my 5th year at Davis. In order to finish up my degree, I needed a couple of quarters, but I didn't want to spend a fall quarter in a classroom. I'd much rather be in a cellar somewhere learning how the wine's made.
Yeah, after harvest.
And Kerry needed an intern, so I worked for him.
That's great. You know, Jeff, I love the story. Every winemaker has his own unique story or her own unique story. So many people came from all these different backgrounds, and that's one of the themes of the show is we like to encourage people to, don't just stick with what you think is your career. And I'm not saying to go quit your job or anything. I mean, keep your day job, but definitely don't give up on your dreams. I didn't realize that your dad was quite a proficient taster and wine enjoyer, and that probably had a lot to do to inspire you in a lot of ways.
It wasn't until I found myself at Davis with an extra slot in my class schedule, and my dad suggested, well, why don't you try something that Davis is renowned for? It's the only place you can go to learn how to make wine in America.
Yeah.
Or, they've got a veterinary medicine program, and their electrical engineering department's pretty good. And, I just threw some things at the computer.
How cool is that?
And that they use for registration. And I had an introduction to winemaking class spit back at me and ended up rubbing elbows with Michael Martini and Heidi Peterson in my first class at Davis, and just kind of rolled into the right people at the right time. Very
cool. Well, I'm glad you did, because we're all being blessed with the fruits of your labor, so to speak. But really, really appreciate you taking the time to join us on the show. And as far as the panel went this morning, it was an interesting group. I mean, it's always fun to watch panels of winemakers because you guys are also uniquely individual. Everybody here is very cooperative. They always are. Winemakers in general are very cooperative. Everybody wants to kind of know what everybody's doing. But yeah, you stick in your own lane. You know what your thing is, and that's your thing. Whether it's corks or screw caps or whether it's yeast or stainless or oak. And so, but as far as that panel went, I mean, do you feel like this is sort of a good way to begin to sort of bring people in to sort of where they can get their head around rosés a little bit more as a standalone sort of varietal?
Well, I think any time somebody gets a chance to listen to or see a product from somebody else's perspective, learn a little bit more about how it got to taste the way it tastes, is going to be tremendously advantageous. The opportunity to explore and learn about a particular style or flavor or wine that you enjoy, it's going to help guide you with your future explorations in terms of making decisions in the future as to what you want to buy and what you want to pursue. Well,
good. You guys did, and kudos to Craig and the others. I mean, there's a bunch of people behind him as well, but it's kind of an interesting thing. Sometimes people will pick up a mission. Whether it's, dog rescue or I don't mean to compare rosé with that, but what I mean is that it's an obscure thing that doesn't really look like it has a payday at the end.
No.
But yet this is something that's passion driven, and I really like the idea that, we're able to share it with so many people are getting turned on, because these people are going to go talk to all their friends, and this is going to get bigger every year. So
I hope so.
Should be fun.
So.
Jeff, how do people find you? Do you have a website? I know you're up in the Shenandoah region.
We're in the Shenandoah Valley, probably 45 minutes to 50 minutes east of Sacramento as you head up into the Gold Rush country, just 3 miles outside of the little town of Plymouth. But probably the best way to find us is on the web at jeffrunquistwines.com.
Well, very good. And I know you guys are famous for some really good events up there. You've got Behind the Cellar Door, which is where I think I met you a few years ago. And then what's the other big one?
We've got the Big Crush in the fall.
Right.
But we've got 2 other events that are wonderful. in the beginning of May, there is Amador Four Fires.
Okay, that's right.
And that's an event surrounding the cultures that have influenced Amador winemaking, Southern Rhone, Heritage, Iberian Peninsula, and Italian. And then there also is now, they've changed, it's in September now, which makes it tough for us as producers because we're busy making
little
wine.
busy then.
But there's a wonderful event called the Barbera Festival.
That's right.
Where as many of 80 different producers of Barbera will show up and pour their wares on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
And for people that are interested in Italian varietals, and Barbera in particular, that's an event you want to make an effort to attend.
Put that on your calendar.
Yes,
sometime in September. That's the best. Well, that's one of. I mean, gosh, I love to go out every weekend, frankly, to go to wine country. But it really is one of the best times. If you're limited with your opportunities, try to plan some events or some time around the crush and the harvest to get out there. Everybody's busy. Everybody's just energy is pumping, and it's just such an exciting time to get to meet everybody and take part in some of these festivals. Jeff, I want to thank you again for joining us today so much. Everybody, I want you to go check it out, Jeff Runquist, winesonline.com. Check it out, and we will be right back with a bunch more of the show. We are broadcasting live right now from the Soda Rock Winery right here in Alexander Valley, and it is a gorgeous day out there. So stick around. I'm Mike Rayford. You're listening to In Search of the Good Life show. We'll be right back. Right back.